What's doing, everybody? I'm Alec. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood. Today's guest on the podcast is actor and comedian Paul Scheer. Paul Scheer is best known for his role in The League. It's a big honor to have him on the podcast today, so go down there, smack that subscribe button, tap the like, and let's jump into it right now with Paul Scheer on First Class Fatherhood. Joining me now, First Class Father, Paul Scheer. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
I'm excited to be here. How are you?
Doing very well. Let's do it like this. How many kids do you have, and how old are they?
I got two kids. I got a 4-year-old and I have a 6-year-old. Recently just turned 4 and 6, so all new for us.
Okay, awesome. You got two. Going for any more, or are you all done?
I think we're done. My wife, I think, would like another one. I come from an only child family. My wife comes from having 2 sisters, so I think that she thinks that 3 is normal. I'm very content with 2. I mean, I also like kids later in life, too. So I feel like I want to be able to enjoy them while I just want to enjoy them in this time. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Did you guys do any kind of like gender reveal to find out what you were having with both, or did you wait till the end to find out?
We found out right away. We didn't have any pomp and circumstance around it. Like the doctor said, "You want to know?" And we said, "Yeah, let us know." That was it. I don't need to cut open a cake or shoot some balloons up in the sky. Yeah, we just did it the old-fashioned way, just a sonogram.
All right, sounds good. If you could, Paul, just take a minute here to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a comedian, an actor, and a director and podcaster. You might know me from things back in the day. I started off doing a show called Best Week Ever, and then I moved into my own sketch comedy show called Human Giant, and I have on a show called The League, and currently on a show called Black Monday with Don Cheadle on Showtime, but you might also see me on 30 Rock or The Good Place or Parks and Rec, and kind of all over the spot. And my podcast is How Did This Get Made? And I also have another podcast called Unspooled. So I kind of pop around in a bunch of different areas.
Yeah, awesome. I love the hustle. And I know you mentioned there that you became a father later in life. How did the experience of becoming a dad kind of change your perspective on life?
All I can say is that for me personally, it was really important for me to have kids later in life because I felt like I wouldn't be missing out anymore. I think there's a part of me when we had kids, and no one really told me about this, but there is like this, and maybe it's unique to me, I don't know, but this moment where you are grieving the life that you once had, right? Because all of a sudden responsibility clicks in. It's like, oh, I have to get up now every morning at the same time. I have to feed these kids. They're not going anywhere. It's like, I've committed fully. And of course my rational mind knew that, but there was a moment of like, oh, I can't just go run to 7-Eleven and get something right now unless I have somebody here to watch the kids, or I'm going to bring the kids with me. But if the kids are asleep, I can't leave the house. Like all these things that you don't really think about. So I think there was like a little bit of, for me, that grieving process of like the transition from being, from being who I was to now being a dad. And I think I was able to do that better older because I definitely had all that time to go out and do and not be responsible and sleep in and I really look up and admire anybody who in their early 20s is taking on that responsibility because it's a tremendous responsibility. But then I also look at them and go, oh, wow, by the time you're 45, your kids are in college. Amazing. You get to live an amazing life there. So there are positives and negatives on both sides. But for me, doing my career was important. And then I was able to pull back a little bit from my career and just do some stuff where I'm just acting and being a little bit more passive than what I normally do, which is like create so while I was able to spend some more time with my kids, and that was really important to me as well.
Yeah, well said. And there's definitely a change that takes place, a transformation that happens. And for a lot of guys, that's very uncomfortable. And we see like right now we have a fatherless crisis that's going on throughout the country. So many kids are growing up without a father or father figure in their life. And it has some devastating results. But I think a lot of that does derive from the fact that change does make people uncomfortable. And they do have, like you say, have to grieve that previous life that they had before. And it does, for you. Did it impact at all which particular types of TV roles or movies or shows that you would play once you became a dad?
No, as far as like my creative instincts, I am always going to stay true to that, but it would affect the roles that I wanted to do or how much I wanted to be away from home, right? So part of that decision to kind of not be as creatively hands-on on a project was a decision I made because I was like, I didn't want to be out of the house 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day. Like, I was much more content to be like, oh, I can be on a show. And I had my kids, I think or my first kid like on season 5 of the league. So I understood, okay, I work about like 3-4 days a week. They're not super long days. I just wanted to be a part of my kids' lives. So for me, it was more the time and less the creative. Because I mean, I still do dark shit. I probably won't do as much dark shit. My wife definitely is upset whenever I do stuff like that. Yeah, I think if anything, it kind of opened me up more emotionally, made me more vulnerable. Like, I think you're a beating heart when you have a kid. Like you feel everything, you see it all through them. You see your life in a different way. So yeah, I think that I'm emotionally able to access stuff that I don't think I was able to do as easily before having kids.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, and for me, I'm a railroad mechanic. So one of the things
Mm-hmm.
for me, I have 4 kids myself, and in the early
Yeah.
stages there, being able to turn that off, like from that atmosphere at the railroad, a lot of language, a lot of different way
Yeah,
of
yeah.
speaking, and then have to turn that off when you come home. That took quite an adjustment for me.
Oh,
What would you
absolutely.
What would you say, Paul, are the top values that you're hoping to instill in your kids growing up?
You know, I want I want to be a better parent than my parents were to me. And that's no diss on my parents. Like my parents, I thought were great parents, but I think it's our responsibility as parents to raise the bar a little bit, right? And and be open-minded and allow our kids to achieve without being like without helicoptering them, but also letting them know that they're doing well, but they don't have to be the best at everything. So for me, the number one value that I've really been obsessed with lately, and especially during this quarantine time, is talking to them about their emotions, like letting them, express themselves, like because they've been trapped. We're in LA, so we're under a lot more of a heavy quarantine issue here. So they haven't been able to go to playgrounds. They haven't been able to see their friends. They're doing Zoom school. They're going to get frustrated. They're going to get angry, and they don't even know why. And so we've really been talking about like just talking about your emotions, letting them come out, and we'll deal with it. And I feel like that was something that my parents never really afforded me. Like my parents would always be like, "It's okay, it's okay, you're fine. Think a happy thought, do this." And I think it's okay to embrace that part of yourself. So that like I don't know if it's a value, but I want them to just take care of themselves, like and understand who they are. They don't Not every day has to be okay. And I also want them to be honest and accepting. And I want to talk to them about issues before someone else can put the wrong thing in their head, right? And I'm a firm believer as a parent to be to tackle anything they want to talk about head on, but because of their ages, be brief about how you do it. I think for me, like, as I've gotten older, like I'll start saying something. Like I went to the doctor, and when I first moved out to here to LA, and the doctor's asking me about something, and I started telling him the story. And as I'm telling him the story, I'm like, that makes no fucking sense. Like, what do you mean? Like, and I was like, oh, that was a story that my parents told me about how my grandfather passed away. Like, but now I understand. Like, that wasn't the issue. Like, and so it's sort of just like letting them know the truth, not trying to hide stuff from them, but also knowing where to stop with them. I don't know. I should, like, look, I want my kids to grow up to be honest, community, giving back to the community, being involved, being caring, and being open to everybody. And I think valuing education and athleticism, and just, I mean, all the things. I think you want your kid to be the best that they can be, but I think I also want to make sure that I get them to be to trust me enough with anything that I can be somebody they can go to as a friend, but not be their best friend, if that makes sense.
It does, and you know what? It is different. Just like you were saying, not a knock on your parents or mine either.
Yeah.
Like I would say, I've already blown away by far the amount of times I tell my kids that I love them compared to not that
Yes.
my parents didn't love me, but
No. Yeah.
it wasn't something that they would say. Like I say it constantly to my kids. And I do find myself being more honest about my mistakes with my kids. Like it's something like my father, I could never imagine apologizing to me, where
Yeah.
I call myself out, especially when I punish the wrong kid for the wrong crime,
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's what. And how about as far as discipline? Then I know they're young yet, Paul, but what type of disciplinarian are you as a dad? A spanker, timeout guy? And is that different than the discipline style you grew up with?
Yeah, I had a stepdad who was a spanker, like, and that was a crazy thing. I think, I have not been I have not really been a hands-on. Haven't done any hands-on discipline, and that may be. There's times that I would love. I feel like sometimes a spank would just be like, let's just knock you out of this. I think, but so yeah, that's my own personal preference. I think for me, disciplining them, I try not to just punish willy-nilly. Like, I don't want to just get into a zone where every time you misbehave, I'm like, go to your room, go sit in your room. Like, I want to make sure that they understand why they're being punished and they can kind of recount it back to me. Like, and that's kind of what I do. Like, I will give them a penalty. We have a lot of like treats are being removed. Okay, you're not gonna have dessert. That's pretty much our big, at 6 and 4, that's a big deal. Or you can't play on your iPad, or you can't watch TV tonight, or you can't pick a TV show tonight, which is even sometimes worse. You have to watch what your brother wants to watch. The horror. But I think what I really try to do is befriend them in the punishment. Like, I get it. Like, did you really want to do that? Why did you want to do that? What do you understand why it's wrong? Like, and I think to me, that's the way that I want them to understand, like, what they're doing is why it's wrong, not that it was wrong. Because I think they're little kid minds. It's like, my son loves the Clippers, and I love the Clippers, and we were watching it, and and he knows how to read, and he's seeing everything, and he's like, it's 107-76, and he's like, who's winning? I'm like, you see who's winning, but like we expect them to like understand why they're being punished. I'm like, he's literally looking at a score on TV that says Clippers 107, and he's like, who's winning? So I'm like, you just have to. I think for me at this age, I'm like, I got to make sure that they know why they are being punished, and that I think is helpful to me because I just got sent to my room all the time.
Yeah, it makes sense. Sometimes I'll catch myself. I'll be in the middle of one of these lectures with, especially my younger kids, and then I'll be like quoting Marcus Aurelius, like I'm getting deep into, and then I get like, what am I doing here? Like, I'll catch myself, like, man, you got to realize what level they're at when you're talking to them. Yeah,
you just got to like, they sometimes just need the most base answer, like that is wrong. Because like that's why I'm always like, I a lot of my parenting style is just like, explain back to me what I just said, because it helps me know that they actually understood it. Like, and I feel like if they can repeat it, then we're on the same page.
Yeah, and I know you had a bounce house the size of the Magic Kingdom out there in the front yard. You still got that thing going? How's that worked out?
Dude, this worked out terribly. So my wife, who I love dearly, and I couldn't have gotten through this time without her, she's a lot more adventurous with the kids than I am. Like, I'm just always a little bit like, I'm nervous. Like, I'll play basketball with them. I'll do all fun things, but she will like get a bounce castle for the house. I'm like, I don't know about this, because kids get hurt in this thing. We get this bounce castle. My kid goes in it. It doesn't even do anything crazy. He just falls off like a slightly higher tier, breaks his arm, right? Like 1 week into the bounce castle. And then we're in the middle of quarantine, going to the hospital. I can't go to the hospital. Only my wife can go to the hospital, getting him in a cast. He's 3 years old. It's like, it's just awful. But he barely was affected by it. Like, he came home that night and was a little bit grumpy. And then the next day it was like he had nothing on. Like, but yeah, like that bouncy castle was, it was great for that week. And then once he broke his arm, and they keep on asking, will you blow it up again? And blow it up again. And there are days here where we can't do anything else. I'm like, I guess we should blow up that bouncy castle again. And I'm like, I just sit there and I'm so afraid of, is something else going to happen? Because if we're the parents who have two kids with broken arms, or the same kid with another broken something, like, they're going to start to call Child Protective Services on us.
And you know what, Paul, getting it into what you do here right now, obviously the coronavirus has affected every business out there, but comedy clubs especially, no one's going there right now, and it's affected that. So first of all, what kind of advice do you have for the parent that has a kid that's interested in a career in comedy or TV or something like that? And what is the major difference of doing stand-up comedy when you're doing it on like a Skype thing and recording it for like social media and not having that live audience? How much does that affect you doing the comedy?
Well, okay, let me talk the first one first. Like, I think with kids right now, my kids have their own cameras, they're making videos, and they're 4 and 6, and they have like a little, camera from Amazon that costs $19. So they can start making movies. Like, they're doing the dream that I wanted to do when I was a kid. Like, my parents couldn't afford a video camera like that. We rented a video. Like that's I'm dating myself now, but I was like, my parents like literally rented a video camera. I remember my dad like would put it on a sling on his body, and that's where you put the VHS tape in. We eventually got the better ones, but early on, like, so kids can do whatever they want. They can make their videos, they can make a YouTube channel, and so I would just say, like, embrace it, help them, be the camera person, don't rein them in, let them create, watch their stuff, sit there, even if it's boring and you don't know where it's going. If they're going to do shows, like, I would say if they want to do it, just let them get their crazy voice out. So that's what I would say there. For me, I'm not necessarily fully a stand-up. I come from more of like a sketch comedy and improv background, but I've been doing like shows online, and I think there's a need, or there's a want right now for people to be entertained. And we've been bored with TV. We've watched all the TV, and I think everyone's trying to do their best. So just the fact of me getting online and streaming a show, like me, Rob Hubel and I did a show. We raised like over $9,000 for Color of Change. And it was just us doing bits, having fun, bringing in on guests, just messing around. And I think there is a real freedom in it because it's free. For the most part, it's free, or it's cheaper than what it would be like to go out to a club. So, when we do our podcast, How Did This Get Made? We're going to be doing an online show of it soon. The tickets are going to be way cheaper than they would ever be. So I think people are just appreciative of entertainment. So I actually kind of find it to be really freeing to try whatever you want because people are there for it. And if they're not, they can log off. And you don't have to watch them log off because, like, in a theater, if they're going to walk up and get out, you see them like, oh, why did that person leave? Here, I don't know if you've left. You just leave.
Yeah, it's amazing how much it narrows everything down to your specific interests. So every kind of genre that's out there now, if you get what you want, you can just instead of like flipping through the channels and looking for what you want, now you get only to see what you want to see. So there's benefits to it, but I know it does change the industry quite a bit. And what about your kids, Paul? Are they using? Are they already into the iPads? I know my 6-year-old. She's into watching the YouTube. Is that the same with your kids already?
A little bit, like. It definitely got advanced because of quarantine, right? Because it's like, how many hours a day can we figure out things for them to do? So like the iPad became a part of our daily routine now. So they're much more into games. And the one thing that my wife hates that my kids both love, they don't have a video game system. I have a video game system. They don't. But they love like Super Mario Brothers, and they've never played it, but they just love the imagery of it and whatever. So they watch like a guy doing playthrough of it, like, so it's just like him taping his screen, and it drives my wife insane. She's like, I don't want you listening to an old man talking about Super Mario Brothers, because all we hear in the other room is like, and so when you go on this level, you jump over here, and then you do, and the kids are just like, the kids are just loving it. And it's like the worst thing. Like, they have access to everything on the internet, and they're watching a middle-aged man. It's like, and then you just jump over here and you get your coins, and now you're moving into this room. So like,
and it's got like 40 million views.
Yeah, exactly. So so they're getting into it. They definitely are playing more games, and but we try to put limits on everything. I mean, the other thing too is, I don't know if your kids are doing Zoom school, but my kids are Zoom school, so they're or at least one of them is. It's a lot of time in front of a screen. So we're trying to minimize that, but I definitely feel like, because they can't go out right now, all of our good parenting skills with screens have gone out the window. We used to just be when you're on an airplane, all bets are off. And now during quarantine, we're like, nah, kind of all bets are off. Well, we'll kind of figure it out. We walk it back a little bit.
It's the same thing with us here. I feel like we just had a good handle on it, like right before this whole thing.
Me too, yeah.
Probably like many parents out there. But then we tried to hang on as long as we could. And then it was like, man, now the school is online. Everything is online. So it's kind of tough. And I got the one kid, if you don't watch him like a hawk, he's on there playing whatever game. And then you come over, he's clicking off the screen. And they're faster than you are. So it's hard to get up to monitor them.
It's really hard because, and especially you have 4 kids. You have I have to keep my eyes on both of them. I have a camera on my kid while he's at school, so I'm watching him to make sure that he's at least paying attention, or that if he needs me to come in, because he's only in first grade. So like when the teacher's like, get this assignment out, like he's like, what is that? What do you even mean? Like, he's not organizing his desk. So it's like, I'm watching him. I'm trying to like do a little bit of, and we also have an amazing nanny. We're trying to like do preschool with our 4-year-old. Like, it's just like, and then you're also doing your own shit. So it's like, how do you keep track? It's like they're gonna, the only thing I'm thankful for is that the school iPad, we go to this public school and they gave iPads to every kid, which is amazing. It's locked off, so they can't get anything like out of the norm on that iPad. So that is, it's a kind of a nice safety device. The iPad is just like a school iPad.
Yeah, it's difficult as they get older to try. They get a little faster on this stuff. I used to be the one when I was in my family to hook up the VCR and do all this other stuff. Now I'm asking my son, hey, how do I beam this to the TV? And it comes over, figures it out in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
What kind of projects or plans do you have coming on? What can we look forward to seeing from you here in the future, Paul?
Yeah, I have I'll continue my podcast, which will be up every week wherever you listen to podcasts. How Did This Get Made and Unspooled? Super fun shows. And then I have a new documentary on Disney Plus called, it's part of this Marvel 616 series. So if you like Marvel comic books, it's me doing a documentary, finding out about all these weird characters that Marvel never actually, or they kind of failed in a weird way, or it didn't take off as big as Spider-Man and Iron Man and stuff like that. So it's a comedy documentary, and Jack McBrayer and John Hamm and Nicole Byer are all in it, and it's a really super fun documentary. I think you'll dig it.
Yeah, sounds awesome, Paul. Last thing I'm going to hit you with here, I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
Oh, this is good. I have this ready to go. I always say, I want to make sure I say it the right way. Now I've built myself up that I know what to say exactly. Don't worry about taking other people's advice, right? Every kid is incredibly different and unique. Even between my two kids, what worked for one doesn't work for the other, right? And so I think when you're first a new parent, so much stuff is coming at you. Do this, do that, swaddle like this, put them in a thing, do over that. That's what they need to eat. Get that formula, do that. You have to figure it out for yourself. You don't have to be beholden to anyone else. Figure it out and give yourself a break, because there are dumber people who have done this. There are smarter people that have done this. You're probably in the middle. There are richer people. There are poor people. You can do it. You will get through it. But don't hold yourself to a standard. Forgive yourself. And honestly, the one thing that I really think is important that I never hear too is connect with your spouse as much as you can, because you are going through this together, and you can be open and you can be honest, and days suck and you hate it and you're mad, and it's okay. Like, I think people talk about parenting like, oh my God, it's the most amazing thing and my life has changed. And yes, to all of that. But I remember the moments of, I'm never going to get through this. I hate this. Why did I do it? The biggest mistake of my life. And those go by quickly. But to have a partner that you can say like, oh my God, today was a rough day. And my final piece, sorry, it's 3 little small pieces, but before you have a kid, or if you've just had a kid, go to your spouse, your partner, whoever you have, and have them write a list. You should both write a list. What makes you happy? And for my wife and I, it was like, this kind of coffee makes me happy. I like these kind of flowers in the house. If I had my druthers, I would love to have like a massage. Like basically like things I could get. Like, this is my favorite takeout place. So in those first couple of months when shit is going, you're up, you're spit on, you're just out of sorts, you can look at this list and you can still be a good partner. You're like, I'm going to get my wife this kind of Starbucks. It's written down, and you have a cheat sheet for your partner, because your mind is, I remember my wife and I had celebrated our anniversary right when we had our first kid. I went to the store, I bought her balloons and a card and some flowers, and I left the balloons in the store, and I came home. I was like, where are the balloons? I'm like, that's how out of it I was. So don't be afraid. Like, this cheat sheet really has helped us. I still have it, like, because it's like, sometimes a cup of coffee that you really like from a place that you like to go to means the world in those moments, when you are cracked out because you've been up since 3 a.m. So that's all I would say.
Yeah, right on with that. I love the advice. This has been an honor for me. I got to say, Paul Scheer, you're a first-class father all the way, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Time on First Class Fatherhood.
A blast. Thank you so much, man. Nice to talk to you.